Hello, everyone. You may know me as the guy who makes the competition Valkyria Chronicles Sprocket Creative Competition, or you may know me as the guy who is the moderator in charge of competitions. But one thing you probably don't know is that for a lot of the competitions on Reddit that have historical vehicles for you to use for your designs and submissions to those competitions, I'm usually the guy that makes that. So the other day, someone asked for someone to make a replica of a actual vehicle, and so I did it. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I make a video teaching people how to do this themselves? Now, it's not because I don't enjoy making uh, your guys' ideas and other real vehicles. It's more of a why not have people learn how to do it themselves? So, this was the vehicle they wanted me to make, and honestly, because of the shaping and number of points and whatnot, it was very difficult. But I will be using a much easier vehicle to demonstrate here. So, this will require having some knowledge of how to use freeform effectively. So, some of you may be wondering, well, what's the vehicle going to be? Well, the vehicle is going to be the Hetzer. That didn't, yeah, the Hetzer. So, this site I will be linking for those of you who aren't aware of it, but this is going to be one of our best options for getting information. So you want to find all your sources before you start making the creation. Near the bottom, this website for every vehicle has all this info. And obviously this is going to be extremely helpful. Another website we're going to be using, which I highly doubt you've heard of, is this. As you can tell, the entire article is in German. However, a guy, I asked for him to translate one of the articles so that I could use that as a base for figuring out all the other articles. I will be linking that in the description as well. This article, for most of the tanks, it actually has the information on the gear ratios. However, this article doesn't have like every tank in history, only the vehicles that are in this museum somewhere in Switzerland. By the way, the dude who made this PDF is u/jostle the brick. What I am going to be doing here is first, I'm going to gather the info on the engine. So, the engine, according to this article, is 6 cylinders. So, we want to go to the engine, 6 cylinders, good. Now, we need to figure out, okay, so this article, not all of them do, but this article actually tells you how much horsepower at what RPM. So, what you need to do is go here, type in the RPM, and then mess with the displacement until you get the correct amount of horsepower. Sorry, I've got a cough that I haven't been able to get rid of for a while now, so you'll hear that throughout the video. So we want 160, so that means that we need to fiddle with this. Okay, that's too much. Or too farther down. That's too high, so there you go. One thing a lot of people don't know is that you can actually type stuff past this and it will actually register, but only two extra numbers will fit. So like, let's say you're trying to make something that has a different amount, and you cycle through two numbers here, but the amount of horsepower you need is in between those, then you can just add a 5 to the end there, and it will stick. But I'm not going to be doing that here. So now that we've got all the info about the engine, let's do the transmission. And like I said, this article here, it actually has the information. Hold up. All right, this is going to be under Getriebe. I don't speak German fluently, so I may have mispronounced that. So Getriebe, type, and then these right here. So this has, well, 5 forward, 1 reverse, and these are the ratios. In Sprocket, because everything is to 1, this is the number before that 1. Another thing to keep in mind is if you are an American, like I am, you may see this comma here and be like, what's going on? It's supposed to be like 6,880 to 1. You can't even type anything that big into it. So remember, Americans, over in Europe, instead of a period, they use a comma. So this is actually 10.74, not 1074 with a misplaced comma. Alright, so I'll be typing in the gear ratios here. Alright, now that I've typed in the gear ratios, we're going to move on to the gun. Now, surprisingly, the website that I'll be using for the gun is more reliable for this than people tend to give it credit for. That will be Wikipedia. Now, Wikipedia will pretty much only have well-known guns, or the guns of well-known vehicles. So if you're doing a really obscure vehicle, you're going to have to look harder for the information on the gun. So what we've got here, now how I arrived that this is the gun that we needed is this article says right here. It also tells us how many rounds this vehicle could carry, which will come in handy later. Now, you may look at this article and say, wait, hold on, the L-48 is missing. It says right here that the complete designation lines up with what we're looking for. Now that we know this information, we can use all of this. So, obviously, that would be 75 millimeter, which I forgot is already the default. And so now barrel length. So that's going to be 3.6, because that's in centimeters. For a second I thought that was millimeters and thought that can't be right. But no, it's 3.6 centimeters. A lot of people don't realize that you can just type in the number here also. For most of the instances that you see a number here, you can usually type in a bigger or smaller number. However, the exceptions are barrel thickness, the caliber, and the propellant length. But off the top of my head, these are the only exceptions that we have. Now, one thing you might be wondering is, where do I find information on the actual barrel thickness, or if that cannon length counts the muzzle brake? I don't know. You have to eyeball it. So I'll be eyeballing the thickness later. Now that we have made it, I'm going to save the cannon, because obviously we can't have it just hanging out while we're making the hull. So I'm just going to put 5.7 centimeter pack 39 and save the gun. So now we'll get rid of that. And so now you're probably thinking, what is the first thing I should do when trying to work on the shape? First thing you do, minimize Sprocket. So first you need to find some blueprints for the vehicle you're making. A very good site that I use is blueprints.com. They have a specific section for tanks, and so what you want to find is a diagram that shows front and top and side of the vehicle. Now, I already downloaded one, so I'm not going to be downloading it again. So what you want to do is open up something where you can edit the image and stuff. I'm using a older version of a program called GameMaker, which is free, and I'll link a download of the current version in the description. Now, you don't necessarily need to use GameMaker, but you do want to use something that allows for precise editing of images. You don't want something like Microsoft Paint, which is not precise enough for this. So first thing you want to do here, is get the vehicle. Now you want to just have the vehicle itself. You don't want to include the cannon barrel when doing this. So whatever program you use, you need to pull out and separate these various images. And then what you want to do is make sure that you have the exact length for whatever images that you are doing, because this is where we're going to need to use some math. Alright, so I've gotten the exact length of the hull to take up the entire thing here. So now I need to see how many pixels is it. So right here, the width, that's how many pixels wide this image right here is. So now we need to grab a calculator, and we need to find the actual length of the vehicle. So according to this article, the length of this vehicle is 6.27 meters. So we want to take 6.27 and divide it by however many pixels. So that is 383. Now, keep this number around and keep track of it on your calculator, because we will be coming back to this number frequently. And so whenever you need it again, just click on it and it will come back. So now you're wondering, what the heck are we doing here? Well, first thing we're going to do is we are going to take the diameter of various things and find out how many pixels they are. So I'm going to make the suspension first, and I'm going to use that to, so I'm going to get the width of this wheel here, put it in its own thing, and let's see, so that's 66. So we need to take this number and multiply it by 66. So these first three digits right here are the width for the, the diameter for the wheels that we are going to put into Sprocket. Go to tracks, road wheel, 1.08. Now, I couldn't find any articles saying what angle the torsion bar is at. So I am going to have to eyeball it from a photograph. And it looks like the torsion bars are hidden behind the wheels too much. But that's okay. So what we're going to have to do, first we need to mess with the torsion bar scale so that it's actually hiding behind the wheels. And then, personally, I like to put the rest angle at -45 because it tends to work the best. But you can put it at whatever you want, as long as it will keep these parts of the torsion bar that connect to the hull, as long as it will keep that hidden within the hull, because we don't want that sticking out, because it'll just ruin the design's look. So, also, I noticed that the Hetzer has a frontward sprocket. So, now one thing I have noticed is that for some reason the diameter of the sprocket is not the size of the wheel from here to here. It's the size including the teeth. So, what we're going to do is make a mental note of how many pixels the teeth adds. So that's 4. And then get the width here. .46. So because there's teeth on both sides of that circle, we need to do 46 plus 8. So that would be 54. So now, you just click here, times 54 equals 0.88. Boom. Now for the idler. Now, another thing you can do, which is fairly necessary, however it doesn't always work out well, is get the distance between the wheels here. Oh, it looks like... Oh, right, the Hetzer actually had a leaf spring suspension system, so that's what you're seeing here. Leaf springs have not been added to the game yet, so we have to use torsion bars in the meantime. So I've noticed that there's 2 different groups of wheels here, so I need to go here, or go to Sprocket, and need to go to grouping here and select 2 per group. Now this spacing is the space between the groups, for those of you not aware. First, I'll find the distance between the 2 wheels. 3, okay, that's... Alright, so now the spacing between the groups. Now you want to get like the outermost section of the wheel that is actually all black. So ignore the semi-transparent-ish sections. Actually, I don't need to. 9, alright. Boom. Now, one issue that Sprocket has is, now you see here that in real life, the idler overlaps with the wheel. Same thing with the sprocket. That has yet to be implemented into the game. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to adjust this distance between the wheels at a later point. just to figure out what we should do with the sprocket and the idler. Now, while we're here, I'm also going to get the thickness of the track. Now, these like teeth-like segments on the inside of the track, you don't want to measure. You just want the track by itself. So that is going to be 5. .081. Oh, right. So you gotta keep in mind that when you're doing it on the calculator here, that this is in meters. So ignore these to get the centimeters. So that would be 80, let's round that up to 82 centimeters. And yes, I am in the experimental version of the game, as you probably should have been able to tell by what we did with the engine. Oh, also, what you want to do with the engine here is set the upshift to 100 above whatever the power output that we were figuring out earlier is. So, in this case, 3100. Boom. And then you want to set the downshift to half of that, and boom. I've been playing this game for a long time, and I still have no clue what to do with the idle, so we're going to just leave that. Now you may be asking, what about the fuel? Well, while this article, it does tell us the range of the vehicle, it does not tell us how much fuel it can hold, at least in this. It may somewhere in the very long written part above it, but I'm not going to go through all that. Now I am sure there is some way to calculate this from how much fuel the engine consumes, but I do not know that formula. If any of you do, please, in the video or on the Reddit post, to let people know, as I would love to know that myself. Right now, we are not going to mess with the location of the sprocket and idler. What we're going to do, oh, right, I almost forgot. We need to go back here, and I need to get these other images in. Now, you see in this diagram here that there is a section that is outside. This would be, for example, on the real vehicle, these side skirts. So we're going to ignore that for, well, actually, we've already done the calculation, so we don't really need to ignore it, but one thing we do need to do is copy all this and put it in its own thing. If your program allows, for whatever program you're using, make sure that you keep these on the side, because you want to have easy access to these whenever and wherever possible. Now, not all of the blueprint diagrams will have a back section like this one, so having a back section like this is actually kind of a luxury for me. Usually I don't have that to work with. Alright, so now that we have all these, I'm going to find out the width of the tracks here. Okay, so 27. So that is 0.44 meters. Oh, okay then, so you see I'm not used to the new setup yet, so that's 442 centimeters. Oh wait, no, that's millimeters. 442. There we go. Now, there are two things that we could do with the width of the wheels here, but I'm not going to do anything with that. Oh, almost forgot. From what I can see on these images of the vehicle, I do not see the return rollers anywhere. So, one return roller right in the middle. Wait, is that a return roller? Or I'm going to go back to the German article because it actually says something about what's where. Alright, so you want to go to this Fahrwerk section, and now I gotta use the PDF here. The suspension. Okay, so return roller should be fourth from the bottom there. I don't see the word for return roller, so you know what? Here, let me go to the article that he translated so that you can see better what we're looking for. I should have thought of that sooner, my bad. Let's see, it was this. So let's go back to Fahrwerk. So right here, 3 return rollers, which in German is Tragrollen. So if we don't see Tragrollen, oh, Tragrolla, that's the singular. So yes, there is only one return wheel. Now, for the depiction of the Hetzer that we got here, I don't see any way to easily get the width of the return roller. So we're going to have to eyeball it given some of the information that we have. Let's assume, let's see, that doesn't look like a full circle, so let's assume it's 1 pixel extra. So I guess this isn't eyeballing it, but it's an educated guess. So 17, and there we go, 0.278. Now, you're probably wondering, how am I only going to get 1 return roller? Well, you want to put the forward like that, and then spacing, just type in the highest number you can. There we go. The single lone return roller. Okay, so I was going to take how many pixels are between the return roller and the wheels, but there's some overlap, so there's no easy way to do that then. Actually, right where it is looks about good. Oh yes, also, we need to mess with the wheels because they're poking out. So what I'm going to need to do here, because obviously there's no cross section of the suspension here, is I need to find a photograph of the Hetzer. Okay, so going off of these photographs, it looks like, aha, yes, there is only 1 wheel. There is no 2 wheels per axle. Now, for the width of the road wheels, sadly, we just need to eyeball it. Same thing with the idler and how much space is between. Maybe about there-ish, and the spacing about there. Also, I need to mess with the width of the wheels. It does look like the wheels are in the middle of the track. So that looks about right. Alright, now I'm going to mess with how high up the idler is. What we can do is calculate how high the idler is from the ground, type that into the ring height, and so then we can use that. You know, I should probably do this with the return roller too. I can't believe I never thought of this sooner. Alright. Back to the blueprints. back to the blueprints with us. You're going to be returning here a lot, especially when you get to shaping the hull. I'm not sure if that darkened part there is part of the idler or not, so I'm just going to not include it. Alright, so now we look at the height, 23. Now, we can be very precise with the ring height because you can type in relatively crazy amount of numbers here. 0.37652. 0.37652. Oh. Alright. There we go. So the height part here, that isn't exactly accurate. So the one flaw with doing the ring method here, which we will be using for a lot of things during the shaping of the hull. One thing that is the biggest flaw is this cannot go past 1 meter. So you can see why that's a problem. I mean, even if I tried typing in something higher, it won't ever go past that. So, like I said, problem. The only workaround is mess with the compartment, which sadly isn't as accurate, but it's good enough. So then, throughout this video, and also whenever you make your own vehicle, you're going to be going off and on as to whether or not you're counting these lighter parts. And it really is a case-by-case thing, and this will vary from person to person. And that is entirely okay, because having things be 1 pixel off will result in differences so minute that they're not going to matter at all. And also, this pixel method, it isn't 100% perfect. So don't worry about perfection too much. Now, obviously, perfection, there does need to be a good degree of, but don't worry about it too much. Alright, 1.06. Now, what you're going to be using here is you need to untab this info part here, and it's that middle one. Sadly, it doesn't get any more precise, even though I wish it did. Alright. There we go. Having it phase in a little bit is probably for the best. Alright. Now, there is only one final thing to do for the suspension, and that is find out how much space is between the suspension. 2.27. Now, your first thought is, oh, hey, type that into the separation. No, you see, the separation is not from track to track, it's from suspension to suspension. So because of that, you can't just type it in. You need to temporarily make this compartment whatever width is that is required. So width is the first number right here. So we need to make that 2.27. Now, because of that 5 there, if you wanted to, you could round up to 0.28, but I'm not going to be doing that. I tend to round down from the 5s when creating reproduction vehicles like this. Now for this part, having a computer mouse that has some kind of ability to slow down the movement significantly helps a ton. Like, I would not be able to do this without that computer mouse. Alright, so now adjust the separation. When you adjust the separation, you do want to count those little these little knobs right here, you do want to count that because that is what I was using for the diagram. There we go, the suspension is all done. Now we are going to move on to the hull. First thing we need to do is we need to get the distance off the ground correct. So now you want to make sure that there is no space or overlap between this and the base there. There we go. So now we don't actually need to do the math here. We can actually go back to this site and it will actually tell us in a certain section. Give me a second. Ground clearance. Now I need to go back to the original article this is based on, which I will be linking so that you can do this yourself. Bodenfreiheit. If I remember correctly, that's the ground clearance. But let me check. Check the stuff around it. Yep, it's Bodenfreiheit. So Bodenfreiheit is the term we're looking for over here. There it is. So that is 380 millimeters. Boom. Now, if you hit select all and move this, then it's going to move the turret you placed. So you just want to move this one on the bottom. Now, even moving something a tiny amount like that can make a difference. Okay, so undo. There we go. All right, now what you're going to do for making the hull is you need to find whatever it is that this line at the bottom here is. This line for the bottom of the hull. Now the problem is that we can't figure out the length exactly because these road wheels are in the way. So we need to first find the outermost points for what will become the section directly. For shaping the hull, the method we're going to use is not the split the edge and like this and make points like that. What we're going to be doing is the extend faces method, like that. So with that in mind, we need to make the first section. We're going to be going from the bottom and working our way up. And then after bottom up, if there's anything left that we're unsure of, that's when we use the front to back. Probably wondering, why did I exit out that one? Well, trying to figure out where the top part is here. So it looks like from here to here is what we need, 46. Yeah, so throughout this entire process, your calculator is going to be your best friend. 0.75. So we need the height to be at 0.75. 1, 2. There we go. Now how we're going to use this is this outer point at the very front of the vehicle here. No, not this. This here, all the way down to where we can find the bottom, right there. Let's copy that. You don't ever want to actually edit these base images you're using, ever. So whenever you need a section, you copy it and then paste it somewhere else. Now, first I need to draw this line from here to here, and another line from here over to here. Now, you're probably wondering, what the heck do we do now? Now, we get out a new program called PureRef, which I will also be linking, and it's also free. Alright, so for PureRef, I currently have it on the transparent mode. So what I need to do is as you can see, it's asking to drop something. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be dropping this compass. And the window here is in the way. There we go. So if you have a actual physical compass that you can use to do this, do it. I don't have one, so I need to improvise like this. Now, when doing this, you need to make sure that there is not even a pixel of red going on to the opposite side of the lines if you're doing this with a digital compass. There we go. So now, let's see, this angle is at 53 degrees. So now I'm going to minimize that. So now that we know that's at 53, we need to actually do 90 minus 53. Another calculator. 37. That is the angle that we need this front part to be at. So there are several ways to do this, but the most reliable method and easiest method is adjusting the points. So, and then right here it tells you the slope. So we need this to be at, oh great, I exited out of it. That's why you don't exit out of the calculators. 37, alright. And I did that again. So 37. $35, okay, we're close. So now we just need to do little movements. Okay, slightly too much. One little movement right there. Okay, looks like I'm going to need to do that 2 more times. There we go. Okay, I am very close. You don't need to be this precise, but I'm being this precise because obviously I'm making a video to show you guys how to do this. Alright. So now that we have that angled correctly, we need to figure out how far in front we need to put it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy from the edge of this wheel to the point that we were at earlier. Because this part right here is an extra something added onto the front of the hull. We don't want that, so we need to use this corner here. Paste, boom, 49 away. So 0.802. So now I'm going to go back to this method. There we go. Rotate. Now, make sure there's no overlap with the wheel. Oh, that is a little bit of a gap. Okay. What you really want is no gap and as little overlap as possible, whenever possible. Alright, so now we're going to select the face behind. Great. Okay, so where we... Right. So we actually need to put this on a face that won't be moved at all. So sorry this video is such a mess. I've never done a no script video before. Yes, you heard that right. I am not using a script. Good. Alright. And I need to go back to the hull. There we go. Now what you want here is to barely not poke out. There we go. That's like perfect right there. Now I guess barely not poke out isn't quite the right term, but there we go. Alright, so now get rid of this for now. So as you can see, the sprocket on our model here does not line up with the sprocket on the actual tank. Part of this is the discrepancies I told you about earlier, where we can't have the sprocket or the idler overlap with any of the road wheels. So now, for the hull here, we need to make this go like... So yeah, like I said, we're going to be going from the bottom up. However, now you're not going to want to do this for every model that you make, but I'm going to make it so that the hull here is the exact length of the actual vehicle. So let me see. 6.27. Alright. Perfect. Now, one thing that you're going to need to do right off the bat is go something like that. So I noticed that the depiction here has a little trapezoidal shape to it. So now I need to look at the back. It's trapezoidal there too. So that means that this part right here is the suspension. So we need to make ours trapezoidal as well. So first we need to measure this. 101. Alright. 1.65. Alright. So now we make this 1.65. There we go. Now we're going to take this upper edge here and do the same thing here again. Now you may be wondering, hey, what about this little squiggly detail here? Well, Sprocket doesn't really have a way to imitate that yet, so for now we're just going to ignore it. That may change in the future, I don't know, but if it does, then we'll take that into account in the future. Because that shape there is made from the upper plate being put onto the lower plate. 124, alright. 2.029. I'm going to round that up to 2.03. 2.03. There we go. Oh, right. Duh. I forgot to correct the height of the sprocket. So I need to go back and do that. Personally, I have no idea where the height things for sprocket, idler, road wheel, etc. actually come from. I don't know where they're measuring from for that. So now that we've got all that dealt with, now for the final tweaking for the suspension, I'll be doing that after I finish the hull. That's going to be part of the final step. But right now, we're on making the hull. So now we need to figure out what the rear angle is at. Firstly, is it even actually the same height as the frontal part? 66. Alright, so that times 66 equals 108. Alright, so now I need to adjust this so that the height is 108. There we go. Yes, having a weird slope like this will be common. Just remember, it's not the final product. Now, if your final product has some kind of weird slopes or angles that the actual vehicle doesn't have, then you screwed up somewhere. Alright. Now, let's work on what angle that is at. We're going to be doing the same thing for the back that we did for the front. Actually, maybe it's more from here. So you may be wondering, how am I doing a perfectly straight line like that? This program actually has a function where you can hold down the button and move it, and it will always be at a 45-degree angle. So there, looks good. All right. Now let's open up this again. Yeah, let's call that 52. So 90 minus 52, that's got to be 38. So because our front was 37, so 38. That's probably too much. Oh! Now you may be wondering, so for the angle that it shows, where is it using as a perspective? It's not using the ground. It is using a invisible straight up wall, like around here somewhere, in relation to wherever the end of your vehicle is. Oh, too far. There we go. All right. Now we've got that first part done. So now extend. Time for the extendo arm. Wait, what? Alright, so now we're going to take this picture of the front. Now we need to find out how much space is between the top of our previous part and not up here, but notice how part of the hull actually goes over the wheels. So we need to go up to where that happens. I'd say there. Okay, so the height there is 10.1637. So now we're going to be using the turret trick again. This time, doing it from the bottom. 0.1637. Boom. So now, Let's make that diameter huge just so it's easier to see. Now we want to line that up with the edge of the first section we completed. So, I knew it. It was off slightly. There we go. Okay, so now we want that edge to be, there we go. Now, the question is, what do we do with it, left or right? Well, going off of what we have here, I think we need to make it so that it lines up with what we have going on here. Come to think of it. I shouldn't have done it from here to down here. I should have done it from down here to this section up here, I think. Actually, no, I can make it work. So there's always going to be multiple ways to do this. I'm just doing it whatever works best for me. There's always going to be like multiple orders you can do things in. Alright, so let's have this line up. So the face down here is 9.9. Oh, right. It's not always all that consistent on where it's measuring the degree angle from, so we need to select the edge. That's as close as we're going to get. Now, as you can see, there's still a line visible there, so what we actually need to do is we need to go to Edit Options and set the smooth angle to 1 degree. Now you need to actually change something in order for that to register, but trust me, it looks better when it's done. Now, what we need to do is firstly get rid of that turret for now. We'll bring it back later. Now for the frontward point. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to take the section from this point here-ish to up here. And we're going to need to do the measuring the angle trick again. Now I'm going to use the red even though the line is clearly there and clearly visible, just to make it easier to use the compass. There-ish. Okay, so now I need to get the compass back out. Huh, I didn't realize this would interact with this program that way. Interesting. Let's call it 29.5. Actually. Yes, you can expand this, like I just did. Come on, this doesn't want to work with me. Yeah, this looks more like 29. So now we go here. Now we need to do 90 minus 29 because remember, they're using different perspectives. 61. Now, you can see that currently that the mount for the sprocket is phasing through that. Considering that we're going to need to condense the suspension, I guess you can say, we can just ignore that for now. Perfect. Accidentally, mind you, but nonetheless perfect. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure whether or not I should continue messing with that. I'll just eyeball this. Good enough. Oh, hey, really good enough. Okay. So now for back here, I don't know why I'm laggy all of a sudden, but now for back here, I need to look at another photograph. Now, surprisingly, finding pictures of the rear end of a tank is actually harder to do than finding pictures of it frontally. Well, except for the Archer, but that's an entirely different matter. Alright.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Oh, I see. This is why looking at the photograph for a vehicle is often very helpful. For now, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this out to the maximum length. And now I need to find some kind of reference for what this angle is. The first thing that comes to mind that might have the angle there is the wiki for warthunder.com. For those of you who have not heard of War Thunder, I can't really recommend it under good conscience because of how grindy it is, but it is fun to play, assuming that you're not focused on getting any new vehicles. Because the further up into tech tree you go, the more of a pain in the butt that is. But anyways, we're not here for that. The wiki for vehicles that are in War Thunder is actually surprisingly detailed. Like, look, right here, it actually shows me where to place the ammo racks. So I'll probably come back here when we get to that point. Okay. Front, side, rear. The bottom, it says it's at 14 degrees. A little closer. There we go. Alright, so now this part right here. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to merge it with this. And there is actually a special button for that. It is the M button by default. And now, this little triangle section here, we can actually use that for determining how we need to angle this. So for now, perfect. Alright, now, something's not quite adding up. I'm looking at the suspension here, and I believe I messed up somewhere. So using the pixel method, there are sometimes small inconsistencies like this. So you need to keep that in mind. Because part of the final phase is weaning out any inconsistencies like this. This part is bugging me enough that I'm just going to do it now. Wait, what? When did they allow for overlap like that? I can't do it with the idler. So when did? Okay, I'm just going to chalk it up to new stuff in the update that I wasn't aware of. And we need to make this face 61 again. 61 again, that sounds like that sounds like a bad movie. Yeah, imagine a movie called 61 where it's about an old dude who just turned 100 being 60 again. No one would want to, I don't think anyone would want to watch that. That wouldn't be all that interesting, would it? Alright, that looks a lot more reasonable. Yeah, that's a lot more reasonable than what happened earlier. Alright, let's measure from all the way up here up top. That line right there is the most consistent, so I'll be using this for the roof. And then there-ish. Alright, so that is 53.8676. Let's do that just to make this easier. Now you may be wondering, is messing with this face up here going to mess with that? No, because whatever this connected to or was placed on originally is what connects. That's why I connected it down here, not up here. So now I'm going to take this. There we go. And now we want to make this flat because the top of the Hetzer is flat. So, 90, perfect. I don't know why I just deleted that, but okay. Alright, now we need to take the width here, 93. Okay, so because that is above 1, we can't use the turrets. You know what? I just thought of this. I can just make sure that this matches with this. So let's see, 60. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to do the rear. For this, I think I'm going to need to go back to the War Thunder site. Rear, top, 68. All right. Okay, I didn't think it'd be that perfect. That's like almost the second time now. I guess I've just gotten too used to doing this. Yep, I am too used to doing this. I need to get a life. Anyways, so actually instead of that, I'm going to use the drawing. Actually, yeah, I guess I will just use this. I honestly don't know how reliable these are, but considering how much the models actually look like the real thing, I think you can say it's reliable enough. 40. Yeah, so the closer zoomed in you are, the shorter the distance will be that you move things. Oh, there we go. Oh, right, I need to extend this out. Okay, so now I need to go back here, and I started doing this earlier, but I just entirely forgot. Oh, right. Duh, I can just use the actual width of the vehicle. Alright, so the actual width is 2.63. There we go. Wait. That doesn't quite match up. Oh, I forgot to take the width of the track. Wait. Did I take the width of the track? I could have sworn I did that. Oh, wait. I don't think we need to actually do the math here because I think that German site has the info. Let me check. Okay, so track width is going to be right above street speed. So let's see. Raupenbreite, 350 millimeters. Okay, that's actually extremely close to what we got here, but not perfect. Okay, now I need to. That's still not. I may have messed up somewhere. Yeah, so this is part of the tweaking thing that's usually saved for the very last step. However, sometimes you just have to do it sooner because it's bugging you too much. There. Pretty sure that's right. Oh, right, we never actually get a good look at the return roller. So I'm going to... Oh, right. Uh, okay, so I'm going to mess with the adjust of the suspension, because I feel like that wheel width is pretty accurate, or at least close. Alright, idler. There we go. Now that we're basically on the last step for things, let's just do this now. So it appears that the idler is normally overlapping. So we need to actually take this into account when placing the idler. It does cover that little corner there, so this is one of those parts where you just gotta eyeball it. Well, that's barely covering the corner like in the diagram. I'm actually surprised I didn't need to mess with anything here, though. Wait. Well, I think that's as close as we're going to get with Sprocket, so I'm just going to move on to the next part. Choosing the things that look closest to the actual vehicle. Yeah, pretty sure that's the closest selection we've got there. And we can't even see the return roller, so I'm going to just leave it. So now what we need to do is the mantlet. So Sprocket, as you can see, does not have the mantlet used on the Hetzer and other German tank destroyers. So we need to pick one that looks closest to the actual thing. Although I don't like the idea of putting a Russian mantlet on a German tank, so especially because of how it's shaped not being quite accurate. So one thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to get the dimensions of the mantlet and try to recreate it in Sprocket. I'm going to place a turret for this one. Speaking of turrets, how we shape the hull is how you're going to want to shape the turret on any turreted designs. $55, $45, okay. 0.9, okay. And the height, 0.74. Yeah, let's round that to 74. Yeah, I think that's the best we're going to get. So now I'm going to stick this on there and mess with it until it's the correct dimensions. Okay, let's... Okay, now let's mess with the length. Let's round that 0.77. Now for this part, I'm only going to measure the part of the mantlet that is supposed to be on the outside. I'm not going to be counting the part that is usually inside of a tank, or inside of the tank. So this big part right here, that's this big block right here, that's the part I'm not going to be measuring. Because in a real tank, it would actually be part of the hull. It wouldn't be its own separate, I guess you can say, entity. Yeah, that's good enough. This looks so cursed. Normally my designs don't turn out this cursed, but I'm gonna have to work with it. Now I think I'll be using this turret ring to help me get it correct as to how far off from the side it's supposed to be. Oh, it needs to be on the corner. Okay. Yeah, I think that's as close as we're gonna get. Now you may be asking, what about that machine gun on the top of it? Well, I'm not going to go absolutely nuts with trying to create a new machine gun. Instead, I'm going to use the machine gun asset currently in game. From this point onwards, that's all I'm going to be doing. I'm going to only be using assets currently in game. You're probably asking, well, what's the point of trying to make something historically accurate then? The point is to have fun. Because if you try to get it too perfect, then it's not going to be fun. You're going to get bored and or upset with yourself for making for trying to get it perfect. And just realize that's not going to happen. You're not going to get it perfect purely because this is a game. It's not real life. Now it tries to mimic real life, but it's not like every part from every tank ever made has been added to the game. And you shouldn't expect that to ever happen. Especially considering two things. One, it's only being developed by one dude. Yeah, for those of you that weren't aware, only one guy is making this entire game. And two, imagine how big of a file that would be. Imagine how big that would make the game and how much space it would take up on your computer. That wouldn't be very cost effective at all. Oh, and then three, let's not forget that this game is supposed to be for World War era tanks. So World War One, Interwar, and World War Two. It's not meant for you to be making modern vehicles in this. So obviously any components from a modern vehicle wouldn't be added into the game even if he was trying to do that. Alright, now that I'm done with that, I'm going to look at the top image of the Hetzer. Where'd it go? There it is. And figure out where hatches go. Oh, yeah, I forgot that the the aiming thing was all the way up here. Really weird. I could make it up there, but that'd be really wonky. Oh, looks like I didn't place the machine gun quite right. There we go. That's better. Alright, now for hatches. Okay, looks like there's a hatch there-ish. So I'm going to put a hatch around there. Wrong button. Now I've noticed that the Hetzer doesn't have a commander's cupola. So what you can do for placing your commander is you can just find out where he would be in the vehicle and make the cupola as tiny as you can and actually place it inside of the tank, like that. Alright. That looks like one hatch there, one hatch there. Actually, two hatches here. And then, what's with all the weird hatches? I'm guessing these ones are to the engine, but what's with hatches overlapping hatches? That doesn't make sense. Anyways, oh. Okay. It looks like there's a corner part that goes further. So I'm going to grab that. And see, this is why looking at the top of the diagram, or the top-down view of the diagram, helps a ton. I think that's as close as accurate as we're going to get there. 1.98. Okay. $1.98. There we go. Alright, let's get this all the way to the edge. There we go. Alright. Okay. Alright, so let's see. Hey, I actually put in the perfect spot. So what you want to do here is make it so that it's right on the edge of, that the corner here is right on the edge of this wall. Like as close to it as you can get. Because remember, this wall is basically, the walls in this game, for now at least, are basically 2D objects. So there's always going to be phasing one way or the other. Okay, it looks like this is, wait a minute. That's not a square.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Oh, the length of the vehicle was counting the weird part where the tracks actually go over the edge. Okay, so that's why this idler wasn't in the correct spot. Okay. That clears up a lot of inconsistencies that I was thinking were happening. It still doesn't explain why in the diagram the top is a square, but it isn't. Oh, wait, I'm only looking. Okay. Wait. Hold up. Where did I go wrong? I think where I went wrong was relying on that War Thunder article. Yeah, this is definitely the adjustment phase. Yeah, my Hetzer is looking pretty squashed in comparison to the diagrams and photographs. 1.8, we'll throw it up to 2, 1.82. Alright. Now we need to mess with this point until these two faces match again. Probably wondering, couldn't we have just made this in the simplified mode? Maybe. I suppose we this vehicle may have been shaped in such a way that we could have used it, but that's not really the point of this video now, is it? The point of this video is to teach you guys how to do this with freeform. Because, trust me, most vehicles you will not be able to just use the simplified builder and be able to make a accurate depiction of the vehicle. There we go. Alright, gotta shove this back up in the corner. To the corner with you, you bad child. That looks a lot better. I was wondering why it looked funky. Alright, so now, because we put the idler where it's actually supposed to be, roughly. Yeah. Now that the idler is roughly where it's supposed to be, I think I'll adjust that a little bit there. Now you can see that this front wheel has gone missing in action. Well, this is where inconsistencies with the game and real life occur. So now we need to actually adjust spacing. So I'm going to mess with the group spacing until it comes back. There we go. I just now noticed that group spacing and normal spacing, yes, they are related to each other. So any spacing here between groups is going to be this number plus this number, which I don't think should be the case personally, but hey, I'm not the guy that made this game. So, alright, now you'll notice that in the diagrams, this is all one solid face, while in our model, that's not the case. There's two things you could do here. Either one, change the smooth angle until it matches, or, well, actually, in this case, that might not work because of the angle things are at. But you could just change the smooth angle, but you run the risk of messing with other parts of the design, or you can look right here, that would be curved. So in this case, smooth angle is not the way to go. So you most likely will have to change the location of some points when you're done to make things look right. I know I've had to do it for multiple designs. Okay, I'm going to turn off X-ray because that's starting to get in the way. Looks like what I actually need to be changing is this point. There's no easy way to tell whether you're going the correct direction with this or not. Yeah, I think we're just going to need to set the smooth angle to 2 or something. I think that's the best we're going to get. Lag! What is with this lag? shows up out of nowhere, then leaves out of nowhere. Now we are going to place engine-related things like exhaust and whatnot. Now luckily, this exhaust right here was on the actual Hetzer. I'm going to guess that Hamish, or the guy making this game, added it because of popular demand or something. But I have no way of knowing. Now surprisingly, this version of the Hetzer's exhaust, it only existed on later models. The first model and second model didn't actually have that. Now you may be wondering, what am I talking about? Well, according to this website, Tank Encyclopedia, there are slight differences between the different models. Like for example, look, early type, focus on this part, and then also this part. In fact, this entire back section right here. See that there's some differences. Like look, this is another one. Apparently there are 3 different variants of the headset. And so whenever you're looking for anything related to whatever tank it is you're making, make sure that you're looking at pictures of the exact same variant. Otherwise, things could get messy. Huh, okay. There currently isn't any way to reverse something like this, so guess we're gonna have to suffer. I wish there was some kind of way to create a mirror copy of something you're putting in the middle. Oh yeah, if you make something slightly off center, then that'll happen, but oh boy, wrong. But that's not very useful for if you're trying to, like, let's say, put something oriented like this on the opposite side. So he needs to really add some way to do that. Well, I think this is the best we're going to get. Like I said, Sprocket isn't a perfect example of reality, but you can make things that are fairly close. I need to make sure that the crew complement is actually what it's supposed to be. There it is. 4 people, commander, driver. Don't remember what that one translates to. And okay, so commander. Okay. Either way, I think this is loader, gunner, driver, and commander. Alright, so I didn't see where the viewport on the Hetzer is. There it is, okay. That seems about right. So we need to figure out, did this thing have clutch braking or a twin transmission? So specifically, this article I'm using on the Swiss website is for the Swiss variant of the Hetzer, which was made after World War II. But I figured, hey, it's just another Hetzer, so a lot of this information should still be valid. Oh, crud, I lost my train of thought. There it goes, choo-choo, right out of the station. I know this isn't what I was initially going to do, but I almost forgot to actually do the correct armor values of everything to make it so that it actually weighs what the real thing is supposed to. Alright, so what we have to go off of here is between 60 and 8 millimeters of armor anywhere on any given point in the vehicle. So now we need to use that to get the correct weight, 16 tons. So first, I'm going to select everything and hit 60. Way over. Alright. Let's see where we can reduce it. Let's see. 8. You know what? Let's use the War Thunder thing to see what anything should be. Okay, so the War Thunder article is saying 60 all up here. So now what about the sides? What's it saying for the sides? 20 at any given location. Now, oh, right, said that for the top also. And what's it say for the rear? 8 for the top, 20 for the bottom? I don't know how accurate that is, but something to go off of at least. 20, now 8. And it said that the roof was 8. Okay, so we're looking for 16. So, okay. Well, according to War Thunder's stuff, that would mean that the bottom is 40 millimeters, so that doesn't sound right. I mean, I could be wrong, but let's check. Let's check the German site. Does it actually even go into the various armor thickness? Oh, right. Duh, I need to add the ammo. That's why the weight doesn't seem right. Now I'm putting that at minimum. Oh, right. I need to look up the Canon again because I forgot to make the shells the actual length for that. 495. Alright, so currently, with how the shell designer works, although it will be getting some kind of update, right now the only part of the shell you can adjust is the propellant length. So you can't exactly just type in this number right now. Let's ground that to 50. Alright. So now we need to place some ammo. Let's try 400 just for the sake of things. Yeah, as you can see, that is way too long. Okay. Okay. Let's try 300. And ammo. Nope, too long. Let's try 200. Okay, we're getting closer. Oh, it looks about halfway, so let's try 250 next. Ooh, that is like perfect. Alright. Alright. Alright then. Let's now get the ammo racks. This right here is probably the most reliable part of War Thunder stuff, where the ammo is. At the very least, it gives you a good idea. Now, I wish you could kind of angle the ammo like this in the game. That'd be neat. Purely because I prefer it, I'm going to make all of this ammunition APHE. Because I prefer that kind of ammo in this game. Because as far as I've noticed, AP doesn't actually penetrate any better than APHE, and APHE actually has it actually has the ability to, once it pens, it explodes and kills everyone instantly. So there's that. Okay, so now we need to make it its correct weight, 16. Alright. Let's just mess with the fuel tank to get the correct weight now. Every 10 liters of fuel is 1 ton. Alright, now let's make sure this thing actually gets to the correct speeds. Oh, right, need to mess with the torsion bars so that it actually is equivalent to leaf spring. Yeah, that should do it. Leaf spring isn't really all that good. Like, if I remember correctly, the teabag competition, when they did a round that was either World War One or interwar themed, he had everyone do this for representing leaf spring. So seems pretty accurate. Oh, right. Now I remember what I tried looking up for earlier. We need to get the powertrain to what it needs to be. Alright, this article might say. Oh! I didn't realize that this site actually had the. Oh, nice! It actually has how much fuel it can hold, how many fuel tanks even, and it even has that. So now we don't even really need to worry about calculating anything. That's perfect. Not what I was looking for, but hey. So according to War Thunder, the underside of this is about 50, 50 millimeters, which that doesn't quite sound right to me. So, but I don't know any official sources to check to see. Yeah, I don't know any official sources to check to see what the millimeters of everything on the actual one was. So, but if any of you know, then please enlighten me. That being 8 millimeters just doesn't make sense from a design perspective. I mean, it's like, why would you put a big weak spot on the back of your tank? That doesn't make sense. I mean, at this point in the war, Allied air raids were pretty common, so I don't. Actually, it was made in '43, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how well the armor values on War Thunder can be trusted, so we're just gonna have to stick with this. Oh, right. Going off the armor values in War Thunder, the mantlet needs to be 70. Oh, right. The ratios and everything. Oh yeah, I forgot those added weight. Alright, let's make these 8 again then. You know what? Let's just mess with the batteries for, or the torque for these. There we go. Let's see, for elevation and whatnot, want it under half a second. Right, now that we've got all that corrected, let's get back to trying to find the correct transmission. There we go. Semi-automatic gearbox. Clutch steering. Alright. Powertrain, clutch. Alright, let's go to the flat sandbox and see how fast we can get this thing to go. I mean, we put in the correct transmission and transmission ratios, so, or gear ratios, so should be able to go to historical speed if Sprocket's close enough to replicating that. Alright, so... Oh, right! I forgot to get the track length to be what it needs to be. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3. So that'd be 8. So that'd be 130 centimeters. There we go. Oh, right, I forgot which type of track segments most closely matches the Hetzer. Okay, so it looks like this kind. Yeah. Alright then. Okay, now that the weight has changed a little bit, let's mess with the torque again. There we go. Top speed on road is 25 miles per hour. I currently have mine set to miles per hour because I recently participated in the Cursed competition, which I highly recommend. It's pretty fun. Alright, final gear. Can it get up to 25? Come on. Go, 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 go. Or maybe what I should be doing is the Jeopardy theme song. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can get it up to 25. Oh, right. You know, if I remember correctly, that German document actually says the engine's specifications, but I don't know if the G13, yes, that is the name of the Swiss Hetzer. I don't know if the G13 actually used the same engine or not. Well, let's figure out where the engine section is, and let's get... Okay, so let's figure this out. Okay, so there's the off-road and on-road speed section, I think. So then let's see... Okay, that's between that and the gear ratios. There it is. Oh wait, Tankenhalt? Oh wait, no, Hauptmotor. That's it. Yeah, looks like the German one uses a different engine. And that is why the German site here is only good for some things. I mean, even if you don't speak German and have the cheat sheet I'll be providing, you're not guaranteed to get a vehicle with the same engine as whatever it is you're trying to do. Well, I think that is as good as we're going to get with the Hetzer. I know it looks kind of derpy in comparison to the actual thing, but it's the closest we can do with Sprocket. I think this one's kind of notorious for being difficult to make in Sprocket purely because of some of the stuff. But yeah, this is as close as we're going to get to making the actual Hetzer unless some things get updated. Hope you all enjoyed, learned something useful, and like I said, links for everything will be in the description. So hope you enjoy your day.